Hi everyone, welcome to this special edition of the Handicap Currie Cup midweek preview. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw we had three Currie Cup midweek games to get through, and of course, plenty of demand by those who watched the Thursday night show last week to say, let's get the conductor's tips on this one. He was absolutely on fire in the first week of the Currie Cup, so let's see how he goes with the midweek action. I didn't even know he got out of bed at this time of morning. Conductor, welcome. Good to see you back on this show.
Yeah, Brent, it was a bit of a battle to get up before 9 o'clock, but here I am, right-eyed and bushy-tailed. But yeah, no, thanks, Brenty. Yeah, it was a lovely start to the Currie Cup for us. Yeah, Bulls came in nicely, Province came in nicely, and the guys who took the Cheetahs minus, yeah, had a good day there. And yeah, it was a nice start to the weekend. We caught the bookies a bit cold. I think they're starting to catch on a little bit. It is a very tricky competition, just purely because of the squad rotation, because of the guys, the big four unions playing United Rugby Championship at the same time. So, it is tricky for the bookies. It's tricky for us, but on the other hand, it creates some good opportunities. So, it is a lovely, like you say, it's a lovely Wednesday lineup of three games, and there's also an SA versus India ODI. So I'm not sure how productive many people are going to be in South Africa today, but it's a lovely way to break up the week, and let's try and get some momentum going into the weekend. Maybe pad the wallets a bit for some extra ammo.
Excellent. Well, I mean, couldn't be worse timing from our point of view because I've actually got my first poker game of the year tonight. So, I mean, I won't even be able to watch much of the games, but certainly I see it gets going in the afternoon. And let's start off with the first game. We've got the Lions -3.5 against the Pumas. I mean, the Lions well beaten by Western Province on the weekend.
Yeah.
But I was quite impressed by some of the youngsters. They stepped up. And I must say, I didn't get to watch any of the Pumas Bulls game. What do you think of this handicap?
Yeah, Brent, to be quite honest, man, I didn't watch. I try to watch bits and pieces of the Lions versus Province, or Province versus Lions. It was just unfortunately on at the same time as one of the other European fixtures, so I try to watch as much as I could, and obviously some of the highlights. Yeah, I was impressed. I must admit, I was impressed by some of the Lions youngsters there. In Klabakanya, the prop, he played well for me, and some definitely good talent there. Tyler Box, in the centre, he was decent. Um, and Lions are stronger this week. They've brought in Sangweni, the loose forward. They've brought in, I think, Ginter Smuts, the ex-Pumas, as number 9. Marnie Russ, I think he's at outside centre. And I think their hooker, I just can't remember his name. He's one of their more normal squad guys for the URC. So definitely a bit of a stronger Lions side than was played last week in Cape Town. But to me, this is my gut feel. This is a massive overreaction to the Pumas game against the Bulls. Pumas, aren't obviously the strongest team, but that Bulls team was very incredibly strong. So you can't really weigh that in the level of the competition. So to me, like I said, this is an overreaction. I very much. I've been toing and froing again on this. I'd probably look at the best Pumas plus I could take. There's still some good Pumas players in there. Look, they are ravaged by injuries since that Bulls game. They lost Eddie Fouchier. They lost Kirkwood, who's their lock. They lost Willie Engelbrecht, who's their captain and big ball carrier, loose forward at number 8 or 7. And so, you've got guys having to come in. But I still think there's enough talent in that side with Devin Williams, Ali Ngajima, Darian Landsberg, and Daniel Martins. To me, it's an older side. It's a generally more settled side. It's a more grizzled side. And I do rate Jimmy Stonehouse as a good coach. He would have had them fired up after that Bulls game. It was, like I said, an incredibly strong Bulls side. And I thought the Pumas played very well, considering. So, it's like I said, I actually lined this up as Pumas as being favourites. So I'm happy to take the Pumas on the board and Pumas on the plus. Like I said, the Pumas injuries is not a great thing, and obviously Lions adding strength to their side, it is a toughie. If you don't like the handicap, I'm looking out the window as we speak, and as you can see, I've got the lights on here because it is nice and gloomy in Pretoria, and I assume it's the same in Joburg. It's Amy Barrett's around in the whistle in Joburg this afternoon, and apparently there is a bit of rain. But if we can get a line of around 48, 49, I'd like to look at overs there. And the Lions' defense was quite porous, and the Pumas do like to swing the ball as well. I think we, with the quality of players in this competition, not to say that it's poor quality of players, but I just think it's generally a younger set of guys that are looking to be more ambitious with the ball. and maybe not necessarily as good on defense. So I think we might see a bit more points in this comp. So if we can get a lowish line, and obviously, Brent, if you could put something on the group regarding or on the forum regarding the weather just before kickoff, we can get an idea. Amy Barrett is a slight unders ref. She does tend to sort of chat to the guys and slow the game down a bit. But saying that, if we can get something in and around the low 50s, I think that might be a nice overs play there.
Right, yeah, well, keep an eye on the Good for the Game forum. There is a link to the rugby thread down below of this video. And let's move on to the next game then, Conductor. We got Sharks minus 6.5 against Griquas. I've seen this as big as 8.5 in places. Yeah. So it seems to be some money coming for the Sharks.
Yeah, Brent. I think it opened at about minus 3.5. And as you say, it's come out a bit to minus 6.5. To me, that minus 6.5 is still good value in my eyes. It's not a full strength URC Shark squad or side, but it's still a very, very decent Shark side. You've got guys like Edwin Keita, but he's come through from the Griquas. You got Yapenke, Werner Koch, Morris Lowe, and this Ojoa from starting for the Sharks, making his debut at home now. He's the Samoan international. I mean, I think you got Lawrence Ardiansa as the prop. So there's more than enough talent in the Shark side to cover that. The Griquas just seem to be thinning a little bit. They managed to hold the Cheetahs for a bit and then sort of seem to collapse and then seem to come back a little bit. The Sharks, to me, are building like it was similar to the Bulls. Are building a good base there in Durban. Etienne Flynn is there. Currie Cup coach, but he's they're working in close tandem with the Sharks URC coach. So I expect with the situation with the Sharks at the moment, then it's not like the Lions where they split the sides up where there's URC and there's Currie Cup. You basically have one big squad. So the way I see it, these Currie Cup guys are pushing just as hard for URC places. It creates a very, very strong and healthy competition for places in the URC side. The guys that are on the Currie Cup side want to prove that they should be on the URC side. I think the Sharks may be a bit rusty, but on the other hand will be far fresher than the Griquas we had to play on Saturday. So it's a very short 3-day turnaround for them from Bloemfontein straight to Durban. Apparently there is also a bit of inclement weather in Durban this afternoon. I think it's a 5:00 kickoff. Apparently the weather might be not as good. And funny enough, if the weather is bad, we're going to go overs. Obviously, again, depending on the line, that's unfortunately how Durban works. Rastarashi Venga on the whistle. He's not the biggest overs ref, but he is an overs ref. Absolutely. Be careful on the overs. Just don't fly into it. I'd rather look at the handicap. With a guy like Neil Otto and Ruan Steenkamp as flankers at the Griquas, they do tend to sometimes play a bit negative and try and slow it down, try and frustrate the opposing team, which they did in the one game in Durban. I think they managed to turn the Sharks over, funnily enough.
They beat them.
Yeah, and they can be incredibly frustrating. And Sharks can sometimes go for the corners and get turned over. And that's exactly what happened. The Sharks didn't show enough respect, but this Griquas side isn't as strong as that previous side they played in Durban. So I'm on the minus 6.5, and depending on the points line, potentially in overs there in Durban as well.
Yeah, it's strange. Durban, it's funny. When it's raining in Durban, you got overs. When it's hot in Durban, with seemingly good weather, you got unders, because that's when it's almost like the rain is not as bad as that hot humidity that you get when it comes to making the ball slippery.
It actually adds to the ball ability to be able to control it when they're actually a bit wet, because like you say, it kills that stickiness and that sort of sweatiness on the ball. So it actually does tend to lead to better scores. I mean, I think some of the highest scores I've seen in Durban has actually been when it's been in very, very bad weather. So yeah, and this, like I said, the Sharks backline, I've been following their training on Instagram and Twitter. They are fired up, and like I said, I think with the changes that's been implemented at the Sharks for last 2 years, it seems like they building an incredibly exciting and a very excited brand there for the Durban boys.
Right, let's move on to the last game then of the night. It's Western Province plus 9.5 against the Bulls. I was trying to, when I did my handicaps in the Good for the Game forum, I was trying to think like what sort of team will the Bulls put out. They put a very strong team out on Friday, and I thought, well, possibly, they wouldn't now with the URC looming. And I was totally wrong. I mean, I made the Western Province slight favourites, and straight away I think it came out -3.5 Bulls. And I mean, that Bulls line has just carried on pushing out.
Yeah, Brent, sorry, just on one thing I forgot to mention in the previous game, and the reason I'd obviously go for the Sharks, obviously, Greek was also missing a guy like George Whitehead massively.
Yes.
He's such a talismanic figure. I think they've got probably about 4 or 5 or 6 guys that are quite key to them on the injury list. So, with a union like that just, they do get in a couple of good guys, but they just don't have the depth to compete when they have key injuries. They're missing a guy like JC Null. To me, he's quite influential in that Greek side. So, like I said, I'm very bullish on that Sharks -6.5. But funny enough, at this price actually opened a choice at BetX, and then and then obviously huge money came for the Bulls once they saw the team sheets released. It is a similar province side to the side that played last week. They have lost 1 or 2 guys to the URC side. I think it's Hachiba Dalmani. He's gone to the URC side. He will be obviously rested for this game to play on Saturday against the Bulls in Pretoria. So slightly weaker West Province side and still a very, very strong Bulls side. Morne Steyn, Morne Jansen van Vieren, Stedman Khan. When you got
there, I see.
Yeah, Marcel Coetzee, Muller Ace at number 8. It's a really strong Bulls side. They're not messing around. But that test, Bismarck du Plessis, a guy who's played for how many caps for the Springboks, is your number 2 hooker, incredibly experienced, versus quite a couple of youngsters in the Western Province side. This cap is getting it's a bit high for me, Brent, to be quite frank. If I had to look at anything on this game, I'd rather look at maybe something like an alternative Bulls handicap, maybe try and take a -3.5, -4.5 on the Bulls. Look, I still expect the Bulls to cover this handicap, but to me, it's just about risk versus reward on this. The value has just been diminished. The way the high to shoots out on this. So I'd rather look at a -3.5 on the Bulls. Maybe you probably have to take -4.5 at 4 to 10, or -5.5 at something. Look at something like that, and then multiply that with maybe a Sharks on the board. Will probably give you in and around 8 to 10.
9 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, 8 to 10, 9 to 10, which is decent value. I would quite like that bet. But, I'm chomping at the bit here. Look, it is 8 o'clock kickoff. From what I understand from the Cape Town guys, the weather has been good there lately. It has been quite hot. I believe it's been incredibly hot in Paarl, 40, 45 degrees. So it's been actually steaming in those parts of that part of the country at the moment. So for me, I'd like to look at again on the points line here. I love this Bulls. You've got Harold Foster and Alana Mapu, your centre combination is a really, really decent Bulls side. Very young, very exciting wingers for them. One guy's a very exciting junior Bok. So the Lions points would be very, very good to look at. I predicted it about 63.5. I know it's high. Some of the guys are saying maybe 56, 57. At 56, 57, I'd probably give you in and around a points line for the Bulls. I'm not going to look at overall points line. I'm going to look at the Bulls points line. Points line of about 32, 33, 34. I'll definitely take that overs. The province defense was very, very leaky. This is a very strong Bulls side. And Maurice van der Westhuizen is on the whistle, is the biggest overs ref. Him and Wayne Barnes, just to me, are the biggest overs refs in the world at the moment. They don't like to look at reviews of tries. They don't like to look at reviews of forward passes. They generally like to give the decisions. They like to play quickly and aggressively and give heaps of penalties. With Morne Steyn on the boots, he is playing actually good running rugby. Combine that with his good goal kicking, hopefully. To me, a Bulls overs play here. I'd rather take that than the handicap would be an absolute gem. Unfortunately, Morne's Bucky was stolen last night, so I'm hoping that's not going to put him off too much. So hopefully he's forgotten about that and flying to Cape Town with a clear mind so that he can play well. But this is a very Bulls strong side. So if I can get anything under 35.5, I'll be taking overs on that on Bulls. I expect a high scoring game in Cape Town tonight.
Excellent. Well, let me just give you a weather update in Joburg. It just started raining heavily here. This is sort of 8 o'clock in the morning, Johannesburg. So just to something to bear in mind, keep an eye on the weather for the Lionsgate tonight. Just if you haven't subscribed to our best bet mailing list, we got us a year off to a good start on the weekend with a nice 9 to 10 double there. There's a link down in the description box below to subscribe to that. Right, Brendan, that brings us to the end of this little Currie Cup chat. I'm going to ask you just to summarize in your 3 bets, perhaps in order of preference. What are your 3? And you know, if you prefer to wait for the points in any of the games, that's also fine.
Sure, Brent. Yeah, so as it stands at the moment, you know, my preference would be Sharks -6.5. Then on to Pumas +3.5. Then obviously my least preference at this moment would be the Bulls minus. But like I said, alternatively, those are the handicaps. Alternatively, I'd like to look at points in Joburg. If we can get a low 50s, I'd like to look at overs in that. And then, like I said, if I can get 32, 33, 34 in and around Bulls points, you know, that to me is a big overs play there. But yeah, my preference, it's not easy. It's not as easy as it was on the weekend, but -6.5 on the Sharks would probably be my biggest preference at the moment. But like I said, I'm not massively strong on it, but it would be my biggest preference.
Excellent. That was the conductor, Brendan Wessels. Thanks very much for joining us. Just a reminder, you can catch us, of course, on our live show. That's tomorrow night, Thursday night, 9 o'clock South African time. We'll be having a look at the Heineken Champions Cup matches, as well as the 2 ERC games involving South African teams. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. A great day's punting. Let's hope I come away with some dosh in the poker as well. We'll see you Thursday night at 9 o'clock.